Hey everyone, my name is Darla Kirchner, and I am a brand strategist, but I love talking about people's stories and sharing people's stories. And there's amazing entrepreneurs in this world that are doing amazing things. And so I'm so excited to share Jed's story. This is Jed Record, and Jed is someone I actually met online. Our paths kind of almost crossed at a conference, the what was it called Social
Yeah,
Boom
I saw you
Conference.
at Show Social, but we just didn't get a chance to kind of
We just
talk.
get a chance to actually connect.
Yeah.
So I'm so grateful to be able to have this time with you, Jed, and for you to be able to share your story on your entrepreneurial journey. And so why don't you tell us a little bit about you and what you do?
Um, well, I do a lot of different things, but primarily I'm a speaker and a trainer, and I teach people about how to meet business objectives using social media. And this kind of came about from a series of interactions prior to that, where I had been working as a consultant, a marketing consultant with some larger firms and helping them integrate their digital marketing. And when I was doing that, I continually found myself having conversations with CMOs and corporate executives about, what is this deal with social media, and what do we do with it? How do we handle it? How do we approach it? And how, if we spent any money or put any resources toward this, how would we know that we were getting anything out of it? So after many, many conversations like that, it occurred to me that this is a tidal wave coming for these big
Oh yeah,
companies, just for all companies in general.
yeah, yeah.
And we need to figure this out. And I was particularly intrigued with the question of, with all of the social platforms out there and all of the activities you can be doing on each of them, how would you ever know you are moving any closer towards a business objective? And so that's what I've kind of focused on, and kind of decided that this is going to be something I'm going to solve to the best of my ability. And along that path, it came up that the marketing managers and directors in these companies that typically take on these types of projects just weren't capable, didn't have the time. They were being paid way too much to sit in front of TweetDeck or Hootsuite
Right.
and monitor tweets and post Facebook updates. So there would need to be a new group of people who would be part of these marketing organizations to carry the voice of the brand to customer. So that's a pretty important role. But
It is.
at the same time, they had to understand how to communicate digitally and in short form, which is kind of one and the same, right? And the marketing managers that have been at these companies are a little bit more comfortable with long form persuasive writing and marketing tools. So
Yeah.
so there was a gap in the workforce for people familiar with online tools, familiar with communicating digitally in short form, and who could work in these roles where you would not be, let's say, at least initially, making these big, impactful decisions and developing campaigns that at least initially would be moving revenue targets to the extent that you could budget a lot for these positions. So I guess it's a
Right.
long way of saying they needed some entry level people to get in front of them, right?
Yeah.
But I
To
hate
get some of the
using the
work
word
done.
entry level because I would never recommend a company put an entry level person in the voice of that brand, right, online. So that was the catch. One of the things, I live in a college town. My office is right here adjacent to the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. And I'm very familiar with the college students here. And I know their capabilities, and they're very bright kids. And the only thing keeping them from being as much of a contributor as somebody out in the workforce is the fact that they've been told they got to go to college where
Right.
they can do that.
Right.
And what I've come to find out is they are perfectly capable right now while they're in college to do these
Mm-hmm.
things. So
Oh,
I
absolutely.
created a company earlier this year in January called Force,
Mm-hmm.
where I hire college students, full-time college students, and I train them to meet business objectives on social media for companies in the towns where they go to school. And it's been a fantastic experience. And the firms get a huge benefit because they get somebody that they don't have to train, they don't have to look after, they don't have to check up behind to make sure things are going as planned. Force does all of that. And the student gets some real world work experience and some digital media experience that they would never have gotten otherwise, so that when they graduate, they can go out into the workforce saying, yes, I've got experience. Here's some references. Here you can view my work. So it's been a real win-win for everybody. And I've just really enjoyed putting this all together.
And that's great, because when I first heard you talk about that, about, building Force and having college kids help, I'm like, you know what? I think it's a wonderful thing. And I've got 2 boys in college right now, so I'm thinking this is something that I think could benefit people all over. Because I live kind of in a college town too, in Cincinnati, so we have University of Cincinnati.
Absolutely, and that's
Miami here.
That's our plan. So we're building an online training program.
That's great.
That I've been training people here. We've got a nice conference room here in this workspace that I'm a part of, and we are hooking that up with video and lighting and building the exact same training that we give our students here online, so that a student at any university, whether it's in the U.S. or not, and we've had inquiries from kids in the UK and Canada, even Mexico and Australia, and we want to open that up to them so that they can get the same training, use the same tools that we use here, and it's no big deal for us to take on clients outside of the country, because our communication process and our management process uses online tools anyway. So
I think that's a great tool, and especially for these kids who understand, they're marketing or they want to be in communications, and this is something that gives them a leg up. And it doesn't matter. Digital is not going away. It's only getting bigger.
That's absolutely true. And the big problem, which I'm working very hard with universities right now to resolve, is that the colleges don't know how to teach these skills. So they're not, the professors there are the same professors that were there 10 years ago. They're great professors. They just don't have the real world experience on these platforms to be able to teach these lessons. And so I'm working very hard with schools and universities right now to develop curriculums that will be able to teach these skills. And in fact, I'm writing a textbook so that they'll be able to do that. So
wow, that's awesome.
I'm very excited about that. Although, boy, writing a book is not easy, let alone a textbook.
I know. Yeah, that sounds pretty intimidating, actually. Yeah, that was never been on my radar, is to to write, but now it is. And so, so I can see what I understand.
But imagine being told, "Hey, we love what you're doing. You should write a textbook."
Textbook.
Oh my gosh, I don't know about you, but when I was in school, the last thing I wanted was a big fat textbook to read. So,
well, that's interesting. Maybe you can come with a different spin on it. Really.
Well, I'm doing my best,
outside the box.
And I'm trying to gather stories like you do, Darla, which is what intrigued me about what this show is doing, because I think sharing those stories makes it a little bit more real and more interesting than just putting theorems in a book and explain them. So
it's much more relatable, and everybody understands a story. Whether it's in written form, or it's a movie, or it's even a song, right? They understand the story. And so I think people can relate to that. So so we'll have to definitely keep talking more about that. So what made you decide to be an entrepreneur? Have you always been an entrepreneur, or is this something that you started after you were corporate? Or
so that's a tough question, because I see another friend of mine who's also an entrepreneur that's just come in the room, and I don't know that we decide to become an entrepreneur. I mean, yes, we decide to start a business. That's true. But, there's always been this thing inside me that if I see a problem that needs a solution and it's not out there, it's just part of me to go find the solution, figure it out, and share it with others. And sometimes that means starting a business to make that happen. So that's kind of where I found my path in this. Now, I started my career, and for those, I do have a short little brief bio that people can check out if you wanted to see the background story for me. But the short of it is I started as a web developer for a software firm, and enjoyed doing that. But within that firm, saw some issues. And part of it was we were making great software, but we weren't telling anybody how to use it. So we were having a hard time getting new customers on board.
Right.
So that's where I first started delving into the marketing aspect of business, because I recognized, well, by accident, because they pulled me in to do a tech demo. And by running the demo in a way that I was explaining why this was helpful, why this was benefiting them, we got a lot of new interest from new customers. And then I started going around riding on with sales teams, and then being kind of an advocate for our technology with our customers. And it really made me aware of the fact that it's very, very important to show people, tell people, and listen to people to understand that the solution that you think is helping them, to listen and make sure that it is like addressing their needs.
That's true.
And how important communicating those things are. So it really kind of made me a lot more in tune to how important communication is in business. And it's been a focus for me ever since. But so went through some ups and downs in that company, and we had a nice successful exit there. And again, it's just the entrepreneur mindset. I don't know how to explain it, but in my hobby of I'm a fisherman. I love fishing. It's a hobby.
Oh,
it's
cool!
a passion.
My dad was a fisherman.
Fly
fishing or regular fishing?
So it's offshore sport fishing. So this is when you get in a boat, you go about 50 miles offshore, and you get out there with these big blue marlin and tuna and all this stuff. It's not something a lot of people have a chance to do, but I live here in North Carolina, and we happen to have a really great fishery out on the Outer Banks here. And just so happened that I was lucky enough to be able to get involved with that.
Yeah.
And there are people who live on the Outer Banks here who are so passionate about it. They sit in their garage all day long making all kinds of fishing equipment that helps people catch these fish. And I met a couple of these people and saw what they were doing, and the stuff they were making was unbelievable and completely specialized, because they have access to this wonderful fishery. And with my web development experience, I shared with them, hey, if you put up a web page, you could sell some of this stuff online. And they looked at me like I was just crazy.
Yeah.
But, again, when you have this mindset, you kind of get stuck in these things where you see an opportunity and you can't let go of it. So I couldn't let go of it. I said, well, I'm going to do that if you're not. Put it up there. All of a sudden, we saw the interest. I knew that, I had been validated that this is true. And so I actually bought the rights to what they were making and brought them to Edenton, which is a town I lived at the time, and hired them to train some local people in my town to make the same equipment they were making. And we created a business around it, and grew that business. And by the time I sold that company, we had distribution channels in Australia, New Zealand, Latin America, the East and West Coast of the U.S. It was incredible. And this was where I had discovered the power of storytelling online and ultimately social media. It was before social media, but that was where they called it social. But anyway,
Right.
that was the discovery there. And so
Yeah.
since then, it's been something that's always intrigued me, that how sharing stories and communicating with people online can build awareness around any type of topic or product or service.
Oh, absolutely. I think it would, having opportunities like Blab and Periscope and live streaming, it really opens it up to the world, right? And that's why I love this platform, so that we can share
so
stories.
We are on Blab right now, and the audience here is on Blab right now, and so there's only a limited. I mean, there may be a lot of people who know about Blab, but it's really, compared to the internet, this is like a 1/10%,
right?
If that, like 100th% of the internet knows about Blab, right? So there are thousands of other social channels, not just Facebook, Twitter, Blab, thousands of other resources online where people come together to communicate. And as a marketer, you need to be aware of that and find those channels where your target audience is. For that particular business that I had at the time, and this was back in 2000, well, I think I sold the business in 2012, 11, 12. So it was pretty recently. Even in 2012, our number one driver for new customer generation was through online forums, not through social media, traditional social media channels of Twitter. And I can't, I mean, when I'm talking about I'm talking about serious revenues coming out of traditional old style bulletin board forums. And so we need to be aware that these are still places where a lot of businesses don't. And as a marketer, it's good to be aware of that.
I totally agree. You can't always, you have some things just, sometimes it's just good to like put a postcard in the mail or a note to say thank you. I mean, some of that stuff just is, I think it's very important to do. It's very important but it's also, like you said, it's about knowing where who your target audience is and where to find them. And you can't be everywhere because we all only have 24 hours in the day. So it's trying to figure out, where to focus. And a lot of us are solopreneurs, or we have a small team. So we're trying to, make sure that I'm gonna lock the seat down, making sure that we're using our time and being productive with it too. Right. So
that's right. So now I noticed there were some questions, or at least I noticed one question. Dennis had a question up in here, or comment. Oh, thank you, Vicky. Vicky posted it in there. Let me put this in here. So Dennis asked, how about an ebook? Dennis, it's hard enough writing a textbook. I might get to an ebook, but there's no way I can put the material that I'm talking about into an ebook that'd be easy to get through. So yes, I have some projects in the works that might fit for ebooks. I'm not a big ebook reader. I need to be more aware of who's reading ebooks and what for. But if I use ebook as I like cheat sheets, like 2-pagers, right? Or maybe like an 8-page ebook on how to get started on something. But I appreciate the question, and maybe that just means I need to be more aware of what's going on in the ebook realm.
Yeah,
I'm not opposed to doing an ebook for sure.
Right.
If you've got questions, I'd love to address them as we go. So just type a /Q and then type your question, and that'll pop it up so that we can bring it into the chat.
Absolutely. So I'm gonna go on to the next question, which is, what's been one of the most challenging in your career? Have you had a challenging moment in your life or your career that kind of turned the corner a little bit for you?
Well, to be honest with you, it seems like I run into challenges like that
every day.
All the time. If I had to highlight like the biggie bigs, when I was working for this small startup, this software startup, again, this was early in my career, but my boss came to me and said, look, we didn't make enough money this month for payroll, and we're not sure if we're going to have enough next month. but we'd like you guys to keep working because we think we've got a great product. We're willing to give you stock options in our company. And this was after the dot-com bust, right? The 2000 where everything. So stock options at that point were like, yeah, everybody and their brother had stock options. And my, my petfood.com stock options didn't do so hot or whatever. You could think about any of the
other stock options,
right? So I was not too thrilled about that. And how do you go home and tell your wife, hey, honey, we're not going to get paid this month, but I got some stock options.
That's going to put food on the table.
So believe it or not, somehow, I don't know how I did it, but I think it was like 4 months with no pay working for this company. And so that was definitely a trying time. It was trying on my marriage, trying on my work life. And to be honest, I don't know that I had a lot of faith that the company was going to even come out of it. I just felt backed into a corner that I didn't have a lot of other options because I was looking for other jobs at the time, but I couldn't. At the area I was, the jobs that had came open to me were in other parts of the country, and I was trying to know, it was after 4 months. It was an option, Darla.
Well, I've been there. Yeah, my husband and I have been there. He was with a small company, very same thing, very similar situation.
And
so after 4 months, it was like, okay, I don't care where we go. Just find a job.
So, and as a self-employed entrepreneur now, as a speaker, so let me finish that part of the story. So it worked out. We got some customers. And we actually sold the business to a private equity firm a year later. So it actually worked out really good. I owned part of the business, so I benefited from the sale. I wouldn't have otherwise.
Right.
And I was able to use some of that to start my next business. But at the time, that was the last thing I was thinking of, was that I was going to, make any big money off of this.
Right.
But as a speaker and a self-employed consultant, man, you face these battles every month. You've got to have clients lined up. And, it's funny we're talking about this right before the holidays, because I know every other self-employed person I know, like, this is the time. This is the time where you're spending a ton of money because it's the holidays. But what company wants to hire a consultant in between Thanksgiving and Christmas?
Yeah, they're waiting until their money's gone. They're waiting until January. Everything kind of gets
speaking conferences lined up for like Christmas time. I'm not a Christmas time speaker. That's not my thing. So, even right now, is, to be honest with the audience, is a tough time. But I've been lucky enough to have some contracts through the year, and you have to be able to kind of budget your way around, knowing that your income doesn't come steadily through the year. You've got to pace yourself and understand how your income comes and how your expenses are going to work. So, like I said, these stresses happen all the time.
Right. And people are acknowledging that, saying thanks for sharing that, because a lot of times online, people like to put the rosy stuff, but they don't necessarily share the challenging stuff. And that's the reason why that's part of the reason why I wanted to do this, so that it's real. We all deal with this. And so thanks for sharing. I know Vicki just said, thanks for, it takes a lot of courage to go out on your own. Kudos to you, Jed. So we all feel the same way.
I wish I could be an employee. I really do. My life,
easier.
Parts of my life would be easier if all I had to do was show up and do one thing. That's just not me.
It's not our makeup.
And I learned to deal with that. But the joys are much bigger too. So I feel like my struggles I know are coming. So they've happened to me before. It's not going to shock me that struggles come. But the joys I get in what I do I feel much, much higher highs than just going to a 9 to 5. So I think that's why I do it.
Totally agree with you. And I think that, we're all like, when you were saying, you said something about being a problem solver. And I think that's what entrepreneurs are. I think it's kind of innate, is that I have friends of mine who are in corporate, and they look at me and they're in awe. They're like, I can't believe what you do, and you do it every day. And I'm like, I can't imagine not doing it anymore. For me, it's a choice. And it's not always rosy. That's for sure. That's for sure.
Right.
So
that's right.
Yeah. So it looks like, so Janet has a question. What kind of clients do you serve? What kind of clients do you serve?
Oh, that's a good question, Janet.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been a marketing consultant for ever since I sold my last company. That's about since 2000. I think it's 2012 is when I finally closed my arrangement with them. And so I've worked primarily with larger companies, but I'm starting to work with more medium and smaller sized companies because I think there's more opportunities there. I think the bigger companies are getting some processes into place with their digital marketing programs, which is great. I still get calls from big companies. I'm getting calls now on a new emerging platforms like Snapchat.
Oh, cool.
Within the past, are calling me up and saying, "What do we do? Should we be aware of this?" And so I still work with some big brands, but I'm developing these training programs with Likeforce that I think are going to carry over to the bulk of small and medium-sized businesses out there. And what we're going to do is we're going to make all of the training we do for our students available to businesses to sign up for and train their own staff. So if you have a small business and you're interested in putting some consistent stuff out there on social media, which I highly recommend, you need somebody who's been trained to do that. Otherwise, you're going to have your receptionist or your waiter or whoever your extra staffer is. You're just going to dump it on them. They don't have any training. They don't know what to put. They're going to nothing. You're going to struggle. You're going to continue to struggle with social.
Right. And unless they know what your purpose is and what your mission is for your business, they're never going to speak to those people. They're just sticking it out there to put it out there. And that's not how do you measure that?
And as I said at the outset, like this is the voice of your company directly to your customer. So these are the relationships you're building with customers. And if you are putting somebody, if you're just saying, well, I don't have time to do that, let's give it to so-and-so.
Right.
Have them stand at the front of your business and welcome and greet each person coming in. If not, get somebody who's been trained on how to interact with people on social media. If you're looking for somebody, go to likeforce.com, send me an email. The way we work is we don't actually source a lot of business online. Our students actually approach businesses in the areas where they live. So if we get a company from like Phoenix saying we need a student to come, I could probably track a student down in Phoenix, but that's not really how we operate. But I am developing these programs to train your employees. So reach out to me at jedrecord.com, and you'll see more in the weeks ahead. Under my training section, you'll see some online training courses that'll start coming up that you can share with your employees. And if you'd like something a one-on-one or something where I can share these practices with staff at your firm, please reach out to me, email me, call me, and I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, and I think it's a great opportunity. I hope you guys take advantage of this, and I probably will be talking to Jed more about it as well, because I think it's something that it's a win-win. You're helping, college kids, so that they understand how to make a better life and to do something that is applicable for their future. And it's also helping you. And these kids know what they're doing. And
oftentimes I'll go to universities. The University Career Services will reach out to me. And if you're in the audience and you do work at a university, reach out to me. I'm happy to do this for you. But I'll speak to large groups on the importance of communicating digitally today and the skill set needed in order to do that. And it's something that, again, is not being taught in the universities right now. And it's something that everybody needs to know, not just college students.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I'm hoping to do is to continue to find more speaking engagements around the country where I can share this talk with more and more people, because I know it's needed. And the response I get after each one of them tells me that this is a message that more and more people need to hear. So
yeah, absolutely.
So if you're an event planner and you're looking for somebody to talk at your event.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get you to Cincinnati. I'm going to make that happen, Jeb. We're going to talk about that for sure. And I do have some connections at Miami, which is where I went to school. And
awesome.
So I'm happy to connect you with them. And I know that it's something that they need to know. So I want to chat with you about that too. So would you consider this like, really like your sweet spot? Are you like, is this like in your zone, or is there another area that you're like, really, if I'm really honest, my, where I feel like my zone of genius is here? What would you say?
I think my zone of genius is out on a boat about 45 miles offshore catching dolphin and tuna. But besides doing that, yes, mm-hmm. I think helping people communicate online and leveraging the power of social relationships for their business is definitely. It's from day one. This is something that I've navigated. It's kind of been pulled towards, and I've run 3 other businesses, all mm-hmm. leveraging the power. Social relationships and growing those and being successful with those companies through leveraging social relationships and digital relationships online. So absolutely, that's where I feel drawn and compelled to help others and to share a message of relationship building and awareness and being able to grow a better understanding of how we communicate mm-hmm. digitally and how important that is.
Yeah, I agree. Totally. So one of the things I like to ask, I actually did a blog post on this, and it's something I'm constantly trying to add to. And I'm always looking for good books too. So, you talked about writing a textbook, and I'm sure, if you're like I am, I'm an avid learner, I'm a lifetime learner. So I'm always reading something, or sometimes 2 somethings. So is there a book that you would recommend for someone to either, be to chase their dreams and to go for it, or an entrepreneur book, or something that has really helped you? Are you a reader? Do you like to read?
So I am. I read nonfiction. I'm not much of a fiction reader. I listen to audiobooks a lot, mm-hmm. and I do sometimes listen to fiction audiobooks, like sci-fi. One of my favorites recently was the now you asked me, and
sorry, caught you off guard.
I'll pull up my Audible site, and I'll be able to see it.
Yeah. Well, even like personal development, the blog post I wrote was about personal development books, and so there have been some really great books that
I'll tell you. I am one of these crazy. I sign up for I get all these Audible personal development books and listen to them all the time. My wife thinks I'm crazy about it, but I just love even if I just get a little tip out of one of these books, I feel like I've gotten my money's worth, right?
Yeah.
But absolutely. Ender's Game is an audiobook that I really enjoyed. I think my daughter read that book.
Is it kind of sci-fi?
Yeah, and a movie came out about it, but I enjoyed the audiobook better than the movie. The movie was pretty good, but
that's the way they always are, I think. So, I think the books are always better than the movies usually.
Yeah, and so I do have a nonfiction I want to recommend to your audience. It's called The Lean Entrepreneur.
Ooh,
and, it is an amazing book, and it basically, if you've heard of Eric Ries and the Lean Startup.
I have heard of that.
So Eric Ries wrote a book called The Lean Startup, which I studied in business school, and it's a fantastic book also in and of itself. But The Lean Entrepreneur kind of took those theoretical principles I learned in The Lean Startup and kind of gave me a real practical approach on how to use it in my business. Now, I need to make a disclosure here. The author of The Lean Entrepreneur is Brant Cooper. and he owns a
Okay.
business called Moves the Needle, and
Okay.
it's a lean startup consulting company based in San Diego, and I do work for them. So I do some
Okay.
consulting work for them. I'll be out in the Bay Area working. I think we've got something going on with eBay coming up in a couple of weeks.
Great.
And so I help them do innovation projects and apply lean startup principles inside big Fortune 50, Fortune 500 companies. So kind of like startups within big corporates.
That's exciting to hear, because when I left corporate, it was all about corporate. I mean, I never really wanted to, that was never been on my radar to work with big corporate, because it seemed like it was so long for them to make a decision.
I can't really I can't really stand it, but when I work with these groups, these innovation groups within corporates, it's a completely different mindset, completely different people, and really exciting. And I let them worry about trying to fight the internal battles to allow them to do what they're doing. But I coach them on the strategies and tactics of developing innovative business practices within their company. And so the lean entrepreneur teaches these principles, these same principles that I coach with these companies. And I really recommend entrepreneurs understanding what these lean startup principles are and how to apply them to their business, because I see such great successes coming out of the application of these principles, and I apply them myself in what I do. So
that's great. Thanks for sharing that. I'll add that to my blog list, because I'm there, and it's something I just have to ask. And so there's so many books that I haven't read yet, so I'm always looking for recommendations on them, for sure. So so since we're online and we're using Blab as a strategy to help get our stories out there for us to be able to share your story, so what other marketing strategies are you using to build awareness other than Blab? Because I see you on here not every time I get on, but a lot. So are you using Blab? What are you using right now
Blab is part of my awareness strategy, I guess you could call it that. I think there's a lot of people that are aware that I'm out there, but aren't necessarily aware of what I do and how I help companies. So I'm looking to kind of use Blab to kind of share that message a little bit more succinctly now. When I started using Blab back in August, it was more just experimenting with the platform and seeing what it's like. I didn't anticipate being known as a live streamer. Periscope really never came naturally to me. This is like, hi, I've got some marketing for you today. Like,
I know.
I can't figure Periscope out. I'm still scoping. I'm still trying to stick with it. But it never occurred to me that having a conversation on Blab could be just as effective. And so I've actually found some business through being on Blab and just sharing whatever I can to be helpful on Blab. And it's the same principle across the other social media channels I use. I try and be helpful on Twitter and on Facebook and give help wherever I can. And it's just a general principle of communicating and being social with others. I feel my belief is that inherently humans want to connect to other humans, and humans innately want to help other humans. I know it doesn't always seem like that. And I know there's a lot of selfishness and a lot of other activity that doesn't kind of reflect a desire on other people to help. But for the most part, I do believe most people are interested in helping others, and I want to encourage and foster that. And so that's what I do here on Blab.
I have to say, Jed, you are one of the most genuine people that I've met, and the most helpful. You're always willing to help. You're always willing to pitch in and be of service. And to me, that's a wonderful trait. It's something that I try to foster too. I really do. I really do believe that. I really do appreciate every time I'm on here. It just seems like you come to my rescue, and I really appreciate that. I really do.
Well,
And I know that you are for
I
others.
enjoyed learning more about you, and after Social Boom, and when I was at Social Boom, some of the folks that I had met there and spoke with there, immediately after Social Boom, all of a sudden I had 2 or 3 people coming up to me saying, "Now, Jed, do you know Darla? Because Darla is really cool, and Darla's helped me do this and that." And so, we talked about the fact that we didn't get to sit down and have a conversation at Social Boom, and I regret that. But
next time, there'll be another time.
Really, after Social Boom, the people that I met there and started interacting with more have really, piqued my attention about you, and that's why I'm popping in your blabs and coming and sharing, and I've had a great time doing that.
Oh, thank you, and ditto, feelings mutual for sure. It's interesting because and we will give. I'm sure there's going to be many conferences. I plan on going to more because now I don't want to say I'm a junkie, but I've learned met some amazing people where I've had conversations where it started online, and then you get to meet them live, and that has been awesome. So, and I see things in the future. I think I can see where there'll be opportunities for us to be working on things and other people that are like-minded. And so I can see that happening, not right away, but you never know where things can go. And it's all about building good quality relationships with people that are like-minded people, I think. So yeah, so I'm looking forward to it, and I really appreciate you being on here.
Absolutely.
So I know that you guys. Thanks so much, everybody, for all your wonderful comments. And if you've got any questions for Jed, please post them in here. Vicky's monitoring it; she's doing an awesome job. Thank you, Miss Vicky. So I would ask. So one of the things I want to ask you, Jed, because I got a couple more questions to go, is what is your favorite social media? Is Blab it, or do you have another social media that we would say is your favorite?
Yeah, I guess everybody would think Blab's my favorite social media platform. It's really not. I love, Twitter has always been the core for me. Yeah. But Rachel is right. Snapchat right now is really intriguing to me. I've said this on other blabs too. I really believe that Snapchat is the most creative storytelling platform in social media today. So I'm doing some research for some brands right now on Snapchat. I have an interview with one of the Snapchat top influencers, Opera Americano, coming up in about an hour after we get off here. I'm going to talk with her.
That's exciting.
And I'm developing a Snapchat course, both a course for users and for brands. So
I was gonna ask you. I said I hope you're doing that, because that would be something I would be interested in, because I have been on Snapchat at the demise of my kids, because they're going, Mom, really, really, because they're like, you're on everything else. Could you just leave one platform for us? And so they tease me about it. And so but after you were sharing on a blab some of the things, I'm trying to get on there, because I think it is a great platform for storytelling, and it's not for teenagers.
And there's a lot of misconception around Snapchat. I hope to clear that up. And you can come to my website, and I encourage folks in the room here. I don't have anything up there on Snapchat training right at the moment, but you can come back to that page. What you probably should do is there's a form on the right. You just give me your name and email, and I will be sharing everything from my interview later today with Opera Americano, with the brands I'm working with, and on other social platforms that we're working with at Likeforce. I'll be sharing all that info in my newsletter, and so I encourage you to sign up for that, and you'll get all the inside story there and the back scoop on that. And subscribers to my newsletter will also get early access and probably maybe even free access to some of these classes that will be coming up that will be unrolling, both on Snapchat, but for other social media classes that will be rolling out as well. So
that's awesome. I know I'm going to sign up. I thought I already did, but if I haven't, I'll make sure I do. So it looks like Bell Strategy's asking, Jed, what's your favorite brand on Snapchat lately?
it's tough. The one thing about the brands using Snapchat is they're still exploring the platform. So they're still coming out with, let's do a campaign, right? So let's do something here, and then let's do something here. And you've got Coca-Cola hiring influencers to go do experiences and share those on. So I don't know that I have a favorite, but I will list some that I like. I like Taco Bell. I think they're doing a good job. Coca-Cola, of course. Disney is doing the same thing with the influencers and getting people to come through the parks and share that on Snapchat. I think that's a great idea. Even Grubhub. So if you know Grubhub, they're a brand that's on Snapchat that's doing some interesting things too. It's still early. The folks that I think have nailed it and figured it out. It's a little unfair because they got huge mega budgets, right? So they can do that sort of thing.
Right.
But National Geographic and ESPN have been with Snapchat since the beginning. And the ESPN top 10 plays on Snapchat it's like Snapchat was built for that. Like short little clips or highlights from sporting events. Like there's no better use I can think of Snapchat than for that. So ESPN is rocking it. And it's just a perfect platform for them as well. So it looks I love watching the little National Geographic shorts that you. I
gotta follow them. I'm following. I was trying to explain it to some friends about Snapchat, and they're like, "Well, I don't get it." I'm like, "Well, look for the brands." And so I saw ESPN and Brad just said, NHL. I've seen some things like that on that.
Sports teams are doing like behind the scenes info, like the Patriots and the Broncos show their practice, clips from their practices, and they're exploring. It's a little bland for me just to see like some background clips. I prefer I like the artists on Snapchat. Like Afroamericano, Shonduras, Celia Snaps, and they're doing like real creativeness, not just behind the scenes snaps. So I like the creative.
Yeah, me too. That's my background. So I'm very partial to creatives. And I saw Brad also mentioned Food Network, and I do follow Food Network. I think they're doing a great job too. It's just a different way of looking at it.
Snapchat's a great platform to do a recipe. I don't follow Food Network, but I can imagine it would be a perfect platform to kind of just quickly snap through the aspects of making a meal. So that would be neat.
Right. So now that we've kind of so it looks like Snapchat's number one. Would you say Blab or would you say Instagram?
I don't know if Snapchat's number one. Like Snapchat and Twitter both. I really love Twitter. And Twitter to me is kind of indispensable. I don't think I could do what I do without Twitter. So, but I love the creativeness of Snapchat. It is an emerging platform, so there's this unknown factor. But I think that's what makes it exciting as well.
I agree. It's funny when you talk about Twitter. If you would have asked me 6 months ago, really, oh, Darla, you're going to really embrace Twitter, I would have looked at you like you were insane, because I've been on Twitter and I didn't get it, and ever since Periscope came along and then Blab, I have really learned to embrace Twitter, and there's so much value there. There's so research and meeting people and connecting people. In fact, that's how I've met Vicky and and started a relationship with her, because she was on one of my Blabs, and then I thanked her for being on the Blab, found out she was in Cincinnati, and I'm like, we have to have coffee. And so that's how I'm using Twitter, and it's working. I think it's about being very authentic and transparent and being yourself, and no automation. I've seen a lot of people that have automation all the time, and that doesn't thrill me. But other than that, there's I'm trying to really optimize using Twitter better.
So I've put my Snapchat ID in the room here since we're talking about it. And please add me on Snapchat, and I will snap you back for sure.
Absolutely. I know I'm following you on Snapchat because you showed us how to do the little face thing too. So you have to show me that, but we'll do that later. So then what keeps you motivated? What motivates you? Does your family motivate you? Does what you do motivate you? Does fishing, I want to go fishing now.
Yeah.
My dad was an avid fisherman. So that's something I've always, that's cool. That's very cool.
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know what creeps into my psyche to make me continue to want to learn and experience and discover and solve new problems, but I'm constantly looking for new problems to tackle, for issues where I can use my experience or expertise to come in and help people and resolve issues. So I'm rewarded. My biggest reward is seeing people benefit from something that I've been able to help them do they couldn't do otherwise.
Right.
So I've got a real helper bug in me.
Yeah.
And
you're very good at it. You really are. I try to give credit where credit's due, and I don't pass compliments. It's something that I hold dear. It's very meaningful when I say this to you, Jed. You really are awesome at it. You can tell that it's something innate.
Thank you.
Really. So now, what about some expert tips? Would you share, 1, 2, or 3 great tips that you might help the people here in the audience that you say, hey, these are some things that have really been helpful for me or my entrepreneur?
Yeah, I guess. The biggest tip that I could give people, and I'm coming from a business standpoint here now, is just understand how important it is when you communicate with people, both, and I mean in the real world, in the digital world, however, what you tell people about yourself and about your business is the only tool that others have to kind of perceive you and to get an idea about what you're all about and what your business is all about. And so you need to really carefully consider how people are discovering your company, discovering you, and learning how to do business with you. And that is through what you publish online, through what they can read about on your website, through how you communicate with them. And I guess the biggest tip is I've learned that it's much better to be proactive and outwardly reach out to others instead of waiting for them to talk to you.
Yeah.
So,
that's a great tip.
Overcome the fear that, well, maybe they won't like it if I say hello to them, or maybe they'll think I'm weird if I say hello to them without an introduction. Get over that, because I think in the age of all of these communication tools, needing to have an introduction before saying hello to somebody is out the window. I like to tell people that social starts with hello, and whether you're on Twitter, Facebook, in person, say hello. Just post a message and say hi, and see what happens from there. And it's always better when you're proactively getting out there and setting the message, rather than waiting to find out that somebody's got a misperception about you and then having to go and straighten that out.
Yeah, that's a great tip. It's something that I'm going to definitely be embracing more, because I think a lot of times we get in our heads and we let fear stop us from, going that extra mile or making that extra step or saying hello to someone that you think, oh, well, they don't have time for me. And I know how busy you are. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to ask. And all you can say is no or not today. And, you just move on. So don't take anything personally if somebody says, hey, I can't talk right now, or it's not a good time for me to work with you or whatever. I think that's something to always keep in mind. But so definitely social starts with hello. And that's a tweetable. That's a great tweetable. So I'll be definitely making that into a beautiful little quote meme for us, Jed. So we'll put that onto the blog over at Darla Kirchner. So
awesome.
Yeah. So this is something I found from someone else. I don't know if it was Michael Hyatt or I can't remember the other guy's name. John Lee Dumas, which I admire both those men very much. But it says, okay, so let's pretend you travel back in time with the knowledge that you have today. And what would you tell your younger selves or other entrepreneurs to help them rise as entrepreneurs?
Oh, that's a tough one. Like, yeah.
No pressure.
So, yeah, I don't know how much great advice I could give myself, because so much of what I learned was through trial and error, through the experience of rough times, through the uncertainty of not knowing if, not knowing if I was going to get paid at the end of the day, right? And working in those periods of uncertainty and then achieving a result at the end. That experience just that just strengthens you so much.
Yes.
And so if I could go back and tell myself, don't worry, all this hard work's going to pay off, that would kind of ruin it for me. Because you need to have those times where you're sweating in bed at night wondering how am I going to pay the mortgage next month.
Exactly.
And I don't know if I would go back and tell myself a whole lot, because it was the not knowing, the uncertainty, and then accomplishing something through that uncertainty that I feel really benefited me a lot. Of course, you could go back and tell yourself, social media is going to be big. Better be aware of that.
Start today.
But I think that's not the point of the question. I think the point of the question is like, what advice or tips could you give somebody? And I guess the result, the advice I'm trying to share is embrace this time, these periods of uncertainty and unknown and fear. And understand and learn as you go through it, that when you get to the other side, that you made it, that you went through, and so you're not as afraid of the next time that's going to happen.
Yeah, I think that's a great answer, and I it's something that we've all been through, and we've all had those ups and downs. And I know that it's a learning curve. So you try not to think of things as failures. I try to look at things as learning. That was a learning experience that I went through. And so, seizing
impossible to do that when it's happening to you at the moment.
Oh, heck yeah.
Impossible.
Yeah, especially when you've got a family to feed.
Been through it, right? So if you're in a period right now, if you're in the audience right now, and the holidays are coming up, and you're struggling to figure out how you're going to pay the bills and get the kids the presents, we've all been in that situation. Yes, believe it or not, I'm feeling that right now. I don't have a whole lot of consulting gigs lined up for December, and that stresses me out. But look back on the past. Like, don't try and solve your present fear. Look back on the past, when that's happened to you in the past, and somehow you got through it and you survived, and just kind of use that past experience to comfort you that now, it is going to be a struggle, but January 1st is going to come around, and you'll still be all right. You'll still be in your house. The struggles won't have gone away. They never go away. No. But your resourcewulness got you through it last time, and you'll get through it again. And if you don't think you're going to get through it, tweet me. Tweet me. I'll talk to you. I'll call you.
Yeah,
I'm happy to.
Ditto. I mean, I understand. I've been through the same thing, and there was a time, and I've learned. It's taken me a couple of years to finally be able to tell some of these stories. But because of that, it's. I think I've learned from it, and you look back on that and say, "Hey, I made it through this, so this is not so bad." And you constantly try to push yourself further outside that comfort zone. So for me, I'm never going to try to go back. Because it's easy to stay in your comfort zone. It's easy to be work for the man and be an employee. But that's not where the magic happens for me. And so you're going to have those highs and lows and ups and downs. And Just, know that other people are in the same boat, have walked this road with you. And sometimes, you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
It could all change. It could all change.
But that's a fear that is unwarranted. So there's always a tomorrow, and you'll never know what's going to happen. So don't dwell on that. That's not a fear that you need to let consume you, because tomorrow will always be unknown. And every morning when you wake up, there's going to be another tomorrow around the corner. So just gotta just let go. And I know that's easier said than done, but
yeah, it is. But it's a valuable statement to say.
Boy, we're really getting deep in here today.
I know. I had one more deep question, but I'm almost afraid to ask you. So this is something I learned last weekend. So since we're in deep mode, I'm gonna go one more deep question, and then we'll have fun. Okay. All right. So let's pretend now let's fast forward, and you're 75 years old. And you've lived an awesome life, and you've been a great problem solver, and you've made a difference in the lives of other people and for your family. And so, how would you think people would describe you? How would you think, what do you want people to think of you at 75 when you're, rounding that last corner? Maybe you will live to 100. I don't know.
That's a toughie.
That's a tough one.
And I feel like it's a little. I feel like it's a little narcissistic to think about what are people going to think about me, right? I know it's something that everybody considers as they grow older, I suppose.
Okay.
I hope people look back and see me as somebody who was a helper. I'm more concerned about how people see me today, and in the moment. I know I'm trying to evade the question, but I'm okay if I leave this world and I'm forgotten. I'm okay with that. That's not a problem. I want to bask in the enjoyment of helping somebody now and seeing the reaction on their face, or getting the phone call. Jed, you did it. Thank you so much. That helped me. Maybe that's selfish, but I want to bask in that today. I don't want to have. I'm not so much caught up in what are you going to leave behind for the ages. Right. There's millions, billions of people coming behind me. Let them. I'm totally fine to let them take that. But today, I just want to enjoy the relationships I'm building today. Yeah. And of course, I consider, I want my family to be the beneficiaries of what I'm doing. But I don't imagine my family, nor do I expect my family or want my family to sit around the table. Oh, thank you for Jed and what he did to get us where we are today.
No, I think for me, it's more about reflecting on, were you able to make a difference? So, but I appreciate and I admire what you're saying about living in the day, living in the moment.
Well, and I know I'm making a difference now. I get the phone call, I get the tweet, I get the message back. Hey, we appreciate what you've done. And that, that makes the difference. When you asked me what motivates me or keeps me going earlier, that's what keeps me going. That's what motivates me. Yeah. And I love that. I love I love getting on stage and sharing something that's helpful to people, and having after the talk or presentation, getting people to say, hey, that really helped. And I love that. And I look forward to the next moment I can get up and share with some more people. So in the future, looking back, I hope I've made a difference, but I can promise you this, and this may or may not be a unique. I'm not looking to measure my success on this planet. I look to help others on a daily basis, but I have no measuring stick at the end of the road. Did I help 1 million people, or did I help 10 people? I do what I can, and at the end of the day, if I'm doing that every day, I know I have nothing to regret when I'm done. Exactly.
And I think what I admire what you're saying, and that's kind of how I like to live my life too, just to be helpful for the day, because you never know what tomorrow's going to bring. And hopefully there's always going to be another tomorrow. But a friend of mine says, what happens if you got hit by a bus today? Did you live your best day? and so it's about living your best day. So, okay. So thank you for answering that. And so now I wanted to ask you, this is something that I love. I love quotes. I make a lot of quote memes and do a lot of branding with that. And so, do you have a favorite quote that you would share with us that I could put onto the blog when we're done? Or two, or three?
Okay. So somebody asked me this in a previous blab, and I got all flustered. It was Matt, and I think Matt's in here, or he was in here earlier.
He was in
here. Okay, so I do have a favorite quote, and I'm going to tell you in a second. And I shared it with Matt on Sunday. But for me, quotes are important in timing. To get the right message at the right time makes all the difference. So when I come across a quote that lifts me up at a time when I'm kind of needing that help, that's the best quote ever, right? Because it right time, and right message for me. And it's one of the reasons why I try and share a lot of quotes that have been meaningful to me over time on my social, because I'm hoping it's going to get to that person who needs it at the right time, right? Exactly. So I think that's the important part about quotes, is getting them at the right time. But is there a universal quote that always is going to be important or meaningful to me? I don't know, but this is probably the one that's going to be the closest. And it's comes out of the Bible, but everybody knows it as the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do to you. And I can't think of a better quote for social media, right? Why get on a rant on somebody when you don't want them ranting about you, right?
You. Exactly.
So, if you're a social media manager and you're looking at something to guide you with the stuff that you're going to publish or put out on social on a daily basis, man, stick that on a sticky note and put it on your monitor. Because,
that'll stop you in a hurry. Makes you refocus on what's important, and realign yourself. I think that's a great quote. It's a great quote. Thanks for sharing that. So you have a big project. I know you're working on the Snapchat thing, and you're working on Life Force. So is there something else you want to share with us, or you want to reiterate?
So we got a lot of projects we're going on right now, but Snapchat is a big focus for me right now, simply because there's not a lot of info for companies out there. And so I'll be filling that gap. So if you know of people looking for information on how to use Snapchat in business, I hope you'll refer them to me. Absolutely. And so folks who are in the audience, you can come by my website, and there should be more information up there soon on Snapchat for Business. And subscribe to my newsletter, and you'll get all the insider updates. That's awesome. So there'll be more to come on Snapchat. But in general, just look for me to help companies and solopreneurs and whoever's interested on how to meet business objectives on social media. That's kind of my core thing. And I do that in public speaking events. I do that in online training and in-person training. And I do that for people who just send me a tweet and ask me for advice, or send me a Facebook message. So, and if you like Facebook, don't be afraid to click add me on Facebook. I'm happy to connect with you on Facebook. And of course, I'm on Twitter. You can click on me up here and follow me on Twitter. I'll follow you back, and we can talk there. So reach out to me and engage with me. I love talking to people and learning new things from new people. So Jed's amazing with that. He's very very friendly, and he means what he says. And you've been very inspiring to me, and I look forward to building onto the relationship that we've established here. And I think everybody here can sense that same thing. And I hope that they will all reach out to you, not all at one time, because that might overwhelm you, because it's got a lot going on. But So the other way, Jed is also on Instagram, and you do a lot of photographs.
which I
Yeah, I'm a photo bug. I like taking little pictures on my iPhone and posting them, and just kind of got in the habit of doing that. And I enjoy
awesome.
taking snapshots. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to do that now. I'm going to start this new, like, I'm going to do a little test for myself, a little thing where I, like every day, something that makes me stay in line with where I'm going and where I want to go with my life. And so, yeah, so you guys, if anybody has any questions, I know Vicky's monitoring things. So this is probably a good time. And again, we probably only have a few more minutes because I know Jed's got another appointment he has to run off to. So I've locked this. I'm going to unlock this seat. So if somebody has a question for Jed, this is the time to come in and share.
Or just come and say hello.
Yeah,
I see a lot of friends in here. So this is great.
People, obviously we can't bite you, nor would we if we could. So yeah, we'd love for you to come in and say hi and just chat with us. So yeah, so Jed, who are you going to be talking to after this? You said for Snapchat.
Her name's CJ, and she is a influencer on Snapchat. Her Snap handle is Opera Americano, and she's a big time influencer and artist on Snapchat.
Ooh,
so
I definitely will follow her. Yeah, because that's my background. My background's I have a BFA, and so I did a lot of design and did art for years. And yeah, so love supporting other creative souls for sure. So yeah, so it looks like you guys don't be shy. Come in and say hi.
Yeah, everybody's shy today. They don't want to get on. Come on, we're on Blab. Let's Blab.
Yeah, just Blab. Oh, here comes Bonnie. Okay, we'll go ahead and let Bonnie come in and join us. Hey, Bonnie.
Hey, Bonnie. Good to see you.
Hey, Jed. You too.
Oh, hey, Lakeisha. Lakeisha's in here too. There's a lot of people I know in here. Oh, this is great.
I know a lot of names. Bonnie, we've not actually met. I'm Darla. Nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you too.
Yeah, I've seen you a few times.
Oh, you don't know Bonnie Frank? Oh my goodness. You got to follow her on Periscope.
I think I saw her first on Periscope, and I saw you on Blab yesterday or the day before because I was getting on and off. So nice to meet you. Yes. So you have a quick question for Jed?
I don't have a question. I just want to say that Jed is the real deal. He is so nice and so sweet, and he speaks from the heart. The advice that he gives is amazing. Sometimes when he gets like high tech, it's kind of like, but I'm still listening because I'm trying really hard to understand it. But the advice that he gives in terms of like reaching out to people and following up and looking at the numbers and really just being very mindful about what you're doing in business is huge, and everybody should follow it.
Yes, I totally agree with you, Bonnie.
Thank you, Bonnie.
And it's funny. I think I caught one of your blabs, and you were talking. You were by yourself, and other people came in, and you were saying, stop talking that too techie language for me because it goes over my head. It goes over my head too. So I try to embrace and listen to it, but I'm like, okay, I can't get that tech savvy. So I get it.
Right. I'm like, low level, please. Keep
low
it
level. Bring
simple,
it down to here, and then I'll get there.
I try not to get too. We didn't get techie today. We were kind of.
Yeah, we didn't get.
We kind of got. I don't know. We kind of got off on a. I don't know, some kind of introspective journey.
Did.
I feel like.
I did. I just got back from that conference, so it's got my mind thinking about that and thinking about making a difference. And I really get excited when I think people are purposefully living, and so I think Jed is very much purposefully living. He lives with meaning, and he lives every day that way. So it's been a delight having him on. So looks like Vicky has a question.
So I'll hop out. I honestly just wanted to say hi and to tell other people.
Well, thanks for coming in, Bonnie. I love your scopes.
Thank you, Bonnie. It's lovely to meet you. We'll have to chat. We'll blab again. I would love that. Okay, thanks, hon. Bye.
Bye.
So the seat is open, and
I see a question. I believe it's from Glenda. She was asking about uses of Snapchat for biz. Yeah. So. That's a great question, Glenda, because that is exactly what I'm doing right now. I'm in the middle of a research project right now, and what I'm trying to do, one of the things that I said earlier in this blab is I truly believe that Snapchat is the most creative storytelling platform right now on social media. So I know because of that brands will take full advantage of that as they learn more and more about using the platform. But as an advertiser, it's extremely expensive. I think you need to have like $750,000 in budget to get involved with advertising on Snapchat. So as a consultant advisor for small businesses, I'm right now researching how are we going to help small businesses leverage this platform for their business, and is it even reasonable to do so? Because like I said, I try and help people focus on business objectives using these social tools. So sometimes that's not a feasible or reasonable thing to do. So right now, if you are a small business owner, unless you have a real comfort level with Snapchat, I would not recommend spending time, money, resources on this platform right yet, but to be aware of it and understand that it is a very fast-growing platform. It's tripled the amount of activity that's going on the platform just in the past 6 months. And so it's growing at a much faster rate than Instagram, than some of these other up-and-coming platforms. It doesn't have the volume of people of users as an Instagram yet, but I believe it will catch up to Instagram. So I am in the process of developing and studying the strategies that businesses are trying to use now, the emerging businesses that are on the platform now, to be successful. I've had a lot of success stories, so I'm writing some case studies now on some success stories. The biggest ones so far have involved contests, which shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. So if you can imagine I think a big one that I'll be writing up in the newsletter on my newsletter is one that's involving a concert venue out in the West Coast that did a treasure hunt for tickets on Snapchat, and that was extremely successful for them with very little budget. So I think there are some opportunities that'll be coming up, and I hope to be the person to share those with everyone as I put this all together.
That's awesome. So Glenda had another question. So Glenda is actually a client, a colleague, and a friend. And so this is now her second time getting on with Blab with us. So thanks for getting on here, honey. I appreciate you hopping in with us.
Yes. Well, when I hear Snapchat, I think millennial. I think young people. So is that a...
And you should. That's the perfect fit right now. There is an older demographic coming up, but when I say older, I mean 30-somethings, right? But it all came about when Snapchat added this feature of having a story that was persistent for 24 hours. Mm-hmm. And this story function is really what's driven the expansion to new demographics and the increase in the views that are taking place on Snapchat. And I see Sean asked, is there a resource for Snapchat basics? There is. I've seen a blog post or two out there on getting acquainted with Snapchat. I don't want to direct you there since I'm working on a class right now.
I just said that. I said you're putting one together right now. So, bear with them.
So if you go to my website, and again, I hate to send you to a resource that doesn't have Snapchat on it right now, but just sign up for my newsletter, Shalon, and it will be up there within the week. And I just gave myself a deadline.
I was gonna say now game on.
And so I'll be coming out with a guide, a course, and several blog posts on getting started on Snapchat. And then in the weeks ahead, I'll be using the research I've done to develop a business course on how to market on Snapchat. But let's not be in a rush. It's still it's still an emerging platform. And again, when companies come to me now that are small businesses, my advice to them is just start using Snapchat and just explore it. Just get to know it. Don't start trying to use it as an ad platform yet.
Right.
We're not really at that point just yet. But I hope to be the resource for you to start unrolling opportunities for growing your business on Snapchat.
So you can see that
but
people are
today
interested.
is still a little too early.
Yeah, but you can see that there's a lot of people here that are interested in knowing that. And as Glenda was saying, we have the mindset that it's just for the younger generation, the young millennials. And so it's good to know that
and that's okay if it is, because they're a great demographic to market to. They're a great customer to have. Yeah. But my interest in the platform is its quick expansion in the 25 to 35 segment, and even 35 and up. There is growth there. Now, there's not enough numbers to make it interesting, but the 25 to 35 segment, that is a huge. They are big buyers. They spend money. And those are people that you want to have as clients and customers. So, and it is, I can't even describe to you how quickly and big it is exploding in that demographic.
Yeah. So Vicky just made a comment, and that's good to know, Jed, really, because I'm sitting there thinking, okay, I'm a little older than the 35. So she's like, us older peeps are on it and monitoring our kids, older meaning over 40. So it's good.
Yeah, and the reason why I advise companies to hold off now is because the user discovery component. So if anyone has ever installed Snapchat and tried to explore it and get started,
it's kind of confusing.
Adding followers or following other people, even finding people to follow is hard. And so that will limit the growth in these older demographic segments because their friends aren't already on it, right? They're just, if you're going to follow your kid and that's it, that's not a real benefit to a business because the business won't be able to reach.
Yeah. So I think it's thinking outside the box too, and knowing if that's where your target is. So Glenda, thank you for that question. Do you have another question, honey?
No, I'm good. I'm going to hop off and allow.
Thank you, honey. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Thank you, Jed.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks. Bye. I think, okay, so it looks like, you know what? I'm going to let Ryan hop in because Ryan had a question. And actually what's really coincidental is Ryan and I are going to be doing a blab later today. So we'd love for you guys who is ever here, if you want to join us at 1:00, Ryan and I are going to be talking about his story. So Ryan, do you have a quick question? And thanks for joining us, honey. Thanks for being here.
Very good. I very much enjoyed the show. Joe, it's a pleasure. Jed, it's a pleasure to meet you.
All right.
Can you address the negative aspects associated with participation on social media when you're trying to leverage the tool for business, such as trolling or spamming, or the negative things that happen through social media commentary on comments or photos, or even in such as Blab? How do you address that in a business environment?
So for live streaming, and Blab, I believe, is a live streaming platform. We've got Blab and Periscope and Meerkat. I have been hesitant on how much growth the live streaming can take in terms of becoming a vibrant social media platform. And the reason for that is because this is not the first wave of live streaming. About 8 years ago, there were lots of live streaming platforms, primarily platforms where you would share webcams and have conversations. And they were very exciting, just like Blab is today. But the trolling aspect of it, the aspect that if you're going to be open for others to join, which makes it social, it opens it up for others to come and disrupt and ruin it for the rest of us. And there's been this is my feeling, I feel like there's been no advance. There's been a lot of advancement in the technologies for the streaming, but no advancement whatsoever in the ability to moderate live streaming and live chatting.
Well, I guess I can redirect the question a little bit more. Such a tool as Yelp. Yelp is a great user interactive experience for rating an experience in a dining environment. And I don't know if you're familiar with Amy's restaurant that was featured by Gordon Ramsay, where her business was devastated by what happened on that platform of them shaming her business. Whether it was meritorious or not an issue, but using that platform, a whole audience comes in and erodes the value of your brand, either from a troll or how do you make a business client aware of those risks associated with brand erosion based on the social media experience?
So my experience working with clients is that they're all intensely aware of that possibility. And in fact, my biggest problem I have working with clients is they come to me asking me, how can we keep tragedy from happening to us on social media? How can we prevent a catastrophe? How do we lock this thing up so that people can't kind of debase us on social media? Whereas if you flip it around and say, wow, look at the opportunity that exists on social media. Look at the millions of people that we can reach on social media. I'm an optimist, so that's the way I look at it. And I think when you play not to lose, then you're capping, what you can do. So I know that can happen, and I know it has happened. I think reputation management is something that needs to be part of your strategy. But it's something that's very doable with a good social listening platform. And if you be proactive, like I advised earlier in this blab, about communicating with people, particularly those who have an issue, then you can really improve your chances of not ending up in that situation. Because most of that I've seen happens when people with differing points of view don't feel they're getting heard. That's when they take it into overdrive.
And I think you hit it when you said reputation management needs to be part of the process. And I think you encapsulated it with those two words. So
yeah, absolutely. Totally agree.
I will bow out. Thank you very much, Jed.
Thanks,
Ryan.
Later.
Yeah, we're going to talk later. Ryan and I are doing a blab later. Ryan is a child protection advocate, and he talks about keeping kids protective online. And since I have kids, they're older.
Oh, well, I'm going to be, I hope I'm going to be available for that.
I hope so too. If not, you can always catch the replay, and I would appreciate if you'd share it.
Well, I started into my rant on live streaming, and boy, is he the right audience for that, because live streaming is no place for kids. Yeah. So for everybody who thinks a good kids show would be on Blab, I would argue that all day long until you can build better moderation tools into live streaming. Periscope, Meerkat, and Blab are not places to have your kids, because there's no controls that can prevent the crazy trolling that takes place there. And I really would like to see companies. This is a huge opportunity for companies. So if you're a tech person and you want to make an app, or you want to be part of a growing trend, write code that can do better moderation of trolls on social media, in particular live streaming. And you might be able to make a lot of money doing that. There's a big opportunity.
That could be someone who would be an amazing problem solver, because it is here and it's not going to go anywhere, for sure.
And so, and if I inspired you just now, reach out to me, because I'm willing to help and give you whatever advice and help I can, and put you in touch with the people that could help make things happen if you're interested in doing that. So,
absolutely.
It's a big need. It's a big need on Blab. It's a big need on Periscope, and it's going to get bigger as more and more audiences come to these platforms.
Absolutely. So I don't think that there's any other questions. I mean, what you were saying is just so valid, and I'm it's something I'm like you. I'm very half full. I'm very positive, but I do want to be cognizant of there are bad people, and how do you handle them in the right way, and so that you can address it and try to protect the people, like the kids, so that they know that their voice is being heard and they're not feeling bullied and all that stuff. So if anyone, I want to leave on a positive note for sure. And I know, Jed, you've got a lot, and thank you so much for your time. I know you've got a busy, crazy schedule too. So if anyone has another question, if not, then I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. and say thank you, thank you, thank you from the bottom of my heart.
No, it's been so fun. It's been a fun ride today.
Yeah.
I did not expect some of these conversations, but it's been great.
Yeah, I tell you, I came with an open mind, and I thought, let's just go for it and talk and see what happens from here. So, yeah. So, you guys, I'm going to be taking our blab, and I'm going to be putting it over on my website. And I would love for you to join us. And thank you so much for joining. It's been a pleasure meeting everybody here. I would love to connect with you here on Blab and over on my website, which I'm going to try to put in here if I could spell my name. Thank you. Thanks, Glenda. Thanks everybody for being here. And seriously, I mean, I'd love to connect with everybody here too. Like Jed is talking here on Blab. It's about making connections and building great relationships. And I want to be of help to anyone I can help. So I try to help people on Blab and other things, and with social media and growing their awareness. And so to me, that's part of my passion, is what I love to do. So Jed,
thank you for having me. And if there's anybody in the audience who, if you know of an event or an organization that could benefit from some of the discussion that we had today, please put them in touch with me. I'd love to speak at your event or for your group. Or even provide training for your company if that's what you need.
Absolutely.
So come find me at jedrecord.com.
Yeah, and Jed and I have been talking a little bit, and we'll have more conversations, because I used to be in speaking, Jed, going back, it was 20 years ago, and I've never lost that bug, and I started doing it again, and yesterday was a great start. So I'm doing that as well, and I welcome that opportunity as well. So we're going to get you here in Cincinnati. We're going to get you here.
I can't wait.
It's coming. So you guys, thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate you guys being here. We hope that it's been beneficial, and that you would share it with, have other people come and join us on the replay, and that you connect with us, because that's what it's all about, right?
That's right. That's right.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining. You guys have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.